rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. You know, I got so distracted, I forgot to bring my other feeds up here. So bear with me for a second. But while I do that, so last night, before the show, the Whiskey Warrior P1s that were in the chat were sitting there and talking about math, and Ms. T of Texas popped up with a thing called the nines, or multiplying with 9. The rule of nines is what she called it. And anyway, she went and she sent me a table, you know, and explained it to me, got me all set up straight. And so me being the smart arse, the smart arse that I am, me being the smart arse that I am, I went and put a test to my daughter. That's right, Little Miss Whiskey. And Little Miss Whiskey, I was like, hey, I go, the rule of nines when it comes to multiplication tables. I go, do you know that? Because I thought, you know, hey, if I didn't know it and I didn't teach it to her, then maybe she didn't learn it, because we all know how schools are nowadays. Well, yeah. It turns out that she actually schooled me yet again, so I got schooled twice last night. Let me show you really, really quickly how she told me about this. And it's even simpler than like the whole table thing. So you take your hands, you put them out in front of you, okay? You have 10 fingers. You start on your left hand at the pinky. That's the 1 digit. And then you go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, okay? Now, what happens here is if you go 9 times 1... So the multiplication of the 1, you would go and drop your 1 finger down and you count what's left, and there's 9. There's 9 fingers left. Then you go, put them back up. Then you go like 9 times 2. You put your 2 finger, which would be your ring finger on your left hand. You put the number 2 down, and now everything that's on the left is in the 10 spot. Everything that's on the right of where you put your finger down is the 1's spot. So this is 18. Same thing. If you do 9 times 3, you put your 3 down. Now you've got 27. There's your 27. Then you go and do the 4, okay? And the 4 spot, you take the 4 down, and now you have 36 is what's left. So there you go. That's how that works, and you work it all the way across. And now I got to fix my camera, because my camera went and got all wonky because I put my hands up. So let me move my camera back across here. So there you go. That's how that works. All right. I think I got my camera back where it should be. All right. I know it's amazing what you can do with math. It's sorcery, according to 3 Chevy. Anyway. She showed me that, and I was like, holy crap. And she goes, yeah, when we were sitting in 3rd grade or 4th grade, whatever it was, I think it was 3rd. She goes, when we're sitting in 3rd grade and we're going through all that, you could see when we had the test on the multiplication tables for 9s, all the kids were like putting their hands up, and you could see them moving their digits and everything else. So there you go. Anyway, that seems like it's pretty simple. So, but there were so many things about it last night. You got to go and watch last night's episode, at least in the beginning, to be able to have at least some kind of an understanding of what's going on. But anyway, I digress. Tonight, we have Coco, Cam, and Sean up for the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one, like me. Place your hand over your heart and follow along with Coco, Cam, and Sean as they recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Now, I normally explain that before I bring it up, but I forgot to do it this time. But, Sean is normally a nonverbal autistic individual, gentleman. And he loves the Pledge of Allegiance so much that he'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. So what you heard was Sean, reciting the pledge in the beginning, and then dropping into his normal nonverbal state, and then back to standard state. I won't say standard state, but back to speaking again at the end there. Which, hey, that's Sean, man. Let me tell you. Good on you, Sean. Love the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. So, anyway, if you want to have your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself performing the pledge in your style, and take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, and attach it to an email. Send it off to me. Send it to fans, FANS, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, FANS, at AmericanPerspective.online, and I will get you into the rotation. If you do it with your phone, if you record yourself with your phone, you can press the Sonny and Share button. No, I'm just saying share. 3 Chevy keeps calling it the Sonny button. Anyway, the Sonny and Share button. And once you hit the share button, you can put in my email address, again, fans at AmericanPerspective.online. And I will put you in as part of the rotation. Obviously, I have 20. Right now, I need 21 and 22 and 23 and et cetera, et cetera. So get them in, folks, please. Send them in. I would like to get more and more and more of them. It would be awesome to get, however many times I stream in the year. That would be cool. Which 6 days a week, just about every single week. Yeah, that causes a lot of stuff, which, by the way, I've figured out if I am able to continue performing these, obviously doing these streams, my 1,000th episode will land sometime around Labor Day this coming 2026. So get prepared, because that one's coming. I know I'm not going to stop. Hopefully you guys won't stop, but my 1,000th episode will be somewhere in the neighborhood. I think it's right after Labor Day. This is the way I've got it right now, unless something happens between now and then and I lose a couple of days. But yeah, I was figuring that out. So it's coming up. 1,000 episodes. It's coming up. Slowly. It's getting there. But anyway. All right, let's go ahead and talk about today's headline sponsor, which is I'm wearing one of their fantastic shirts right now. I'm wearing the Declaration of Independence shirt. Here's the place where I got it. It's called theflagshirt.com. Is where you need to go to get this and all of the wonderful patriotic styles for men's, women's, kids, made in the USA, accessories in the good old red, white, and blue. They're gearing up for celebrating America's 250th birthday. That's coming up. And for this weekend, they have their Patriotic Weekend sale going on right now, where you get up to 50% off select patriotic styles. That's the Patriotic Weekend sale. But you know what? They even are getting things even better. Not only are they going to give you 50% off, but you can get a whole bunch of stuff for that 50% off. And if you reach $75 or more of their product, they will provide you with free shipping. That's right. Not only will you get up to 75% off on select styles, but they'll also give you free shipping at $75 or more. And I know not everybody can do $75 or more. So, that being said, I'm going to help you out a little bit. All you need to do is head to flagshirt.americanperspective.online. That's flagshirt.americanperspective.online, and you will be presented with a coupon code to get you $5 off your order by copying and pasting that coupon code into the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com, and you'll get that $5 off. So head on over to flagshirt.americanperspective.online, and yes, I did check to make sure that it is working today. Flagshirt.americanperspective.online. Get that coupon code, copy and paste it into the promo code box at theflagshirt.com as you check out, and you will receive $5 off your order. Head on over to theflagshirt.com and get yourself patriotized. All right. Well, folks, you know, it's pretty sad when Democrats make statements and then they sit there and they're like, oh, well, that was the wrong thing for me to say, and they try to backpedal. So there was a Democrat, and of course this Democrat's an idiot, but anyway, Benny Thompson, you remember him? He was in charge, supposedly, of the January 6th Unselect Committee. Yeah, they didn't find anything. They didn't find any reality. They were trying to get something, but yeah. Anyway. So, Democratic Mississippi Rep. Benny Thompson asserted today that he made a mistake when he referred to the November 26th murder of the National Guardsman as an unfortunate accident. That's right. His remarks were downplaying the attack took place during a Thursday House Homeland Security Committee meeting. He was going up against Kristi Noem, and Kristi Noem was, let's just say, schooling Benny Thompson on the reality of the situation with regards to the Afghan national who took the life of one of the National Guardsmen and shot the other one. He is still recovering. I believe he is potentially in critical condition, but I know that he is still in the hospital. But anyway, so CNN News Central host Kate Bolduan, however it's pronounced, Bolduan, asked him about the phrase that he has used for it. She says, Kristi Noem, in the back and forth with you, she called you out when you were speaking and asking her a question, and you called the shooting and killing of the National Guard member that happened recently an unfortunate accident. You then called it an unfortunate situation. Well, the Afghan national, who was let in by the Biden administration, without vetting, by the way, he's charged with first-degree murder. And she asked him, Congressman, do you believe it was an accident? And he goes, oh, absolutely not. And obviously, let me be clear, I was moving toward the discussion that she could not blame former President Joe Biden on the situation because she approved this person's asylum application. Okay, so here's the real truth. Had Biden not pulled out of Afghanistan the way that he did, had Biden not brought that individual, I'm trying to be nice here, that individual into the country under that stupid asylum crap, he wouldn't have been here in the first damn place to have a asylum application. So yes, Benny Thompson, we are going to blame Biden on this. Now, was it a mistake to approve his asylum application? Absolutely it was. But that's not why he was here. He was already here, and in fact, his original reason for being here and his time for being here actually expired before he went and claimed asylum. So there was a comedy of errors, but it all started with the fact that Joe Biden, in his disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal, grabbed these people without vetting them and brought them over here when they didn't want to be here. Granted, they were doing it out of essentially out of survival, but if Biden hadn't just pulled the rug out from under him and done the drawdown the proper way, he wouldn't have had that problem. So, yes, I am going to go all the way back to the first incident, the incident that brought the idiot here, brought the criminal terrorist here as the primary incident, because if he wasn't brought here, he wouldn't be asking for asylum, and he wouldn't have gone and done what he did. So, yes, Benny Thompson, you did misspeak, and you were completely wrong in it. The gnome, during the committee hearing, immediately pushed back on Thompson when he used the phrase about it being an unfortunate accident. Gnome was like, hello, you think that was an unfortunate accident? It was a terrorist attack. He shot our National Guardsman in the head. Republican Tennessee Representative Andy Ogles also expressed outrage, because that was a murder that took place in D.C. It was not an unfortunate incident. And those comments are effing disrespectful. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. So, yeah. Anyway, Andrew Wolf, Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, is still in critical condition. There have been hopeful updates about his recovery since the shooting. And, of course, like I said, he was this Afghani national was brought here under Biden administration's Operation Allies Welcome, which would not have been a thing had Biden not pulled out of Afghanistan as bad as he did. Anyway, speaking of Afghani nationals, Tulsi Gabbard says at least 2,000 Afghan refugees in the U.S. currently are linked to terrorism. She said and confirmed on Friday that at least 2,000 of the more than 100,000 Afghan refugees who entered the United States after the withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021 have ties to terrorism or are known or suspected terrorists. So, yeah, Benny Thompson, you moron, this is because of Joe Biden. This is Joe Biden's fault. There were 100,000 people who came into our country because of the disastrous withdrawal, and the vast majority of them were not properly vetted anywhere near the standard that we require under the Trump administration of allowing people into our country, Tulsi Gabbard said. Yeah. And by the way, National Counterterrorism Center Director Joe Kent, that's a name I haven't heard in a while, testified that approximately 18,000 known or suspected terrorists were allowed to enter the United States under the Biden administration. Kent said, these are individuals who, under normal circumstances, would never be allowed to enter our country because of the ties because of the ties to jihadi groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Yet the Biden administration let them into the country, facilitated their entry into the country. So, yeah, there you go. Freaking Democrat stupid morons. Well, let's shift ourselves over to the Somalis, why don't we? You know, I should have put in the title, I should have put terrorists, thieves, truckers, and tankers. But I kind of went back and forth about this. But anyway, here's the thieves. Yeah, those Somali pirates. There's some court documents that have been unearthed. So Fox News host Jesse Waters detailed how Somali scammers spent millions of dollars in taxpayer funds intended for hungry children, citing court filings that outlined luxury purchases, overseas transfers, and lavish travel. Waters said, quote, "We just found out what the Somali pirates did with their loot. Millions in taxpayer dollars meant for hungry kids went to island vacations, lakefront views, and hot cars." Waters said the money was spent on an extravagant lifestyle funded by fraud. According to Waters, court filings obtained by CBS News revealed details about how the money was used. They're basically living like Mike Tyson, according to Waters. Waters described one scammer's honeymoon trip as an example. One went on a luxury honeymoon to the Maldives, a Radisson Blue resort with water so clear you can count the stripes on the fish. He continued by describing the accommodations and activities at the resort, quote, "But they were at the private pool, popping bottles, shipping champagne during the day, but at night, the sommelier leads guests through the finest selection of vintages." Waters stated that the resort included extensive luxury amenities, such as a 3,500 bottle cellar filled with labels from around the world, 7 restaurants serving top-tier cuisine, and don't worry, they're halal certified. He said the spending went beyond the Maldives. Waters said that the scammers purchased waterfront properties and luxury vehicles. He's like, these guys had a taste for the good life, an eye for waterfront properties and luxury cars like this 2021 Porsche Macan. That's Macan. Yeah, these guys were young and filthy rich because they stole from you, Waters said. One showed off his box full of cash and a text $250,000. Yeah. Anyway, according to Waters, he also said that money was transferred overseas, millions going to China and Kenya. Now the pirates are getting what they deserved. One of them is sentenced to 30 years. Another one got 10 years and was ordered to pay back the $50 million, which he'll never get. Anyway, the investigation remains ongoing, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Folks, this is horrible. What the Democrats and the Democrat Party have allowed this country to become is absolutely an abomination. It really is. And what they have steered this country to go do is a complete abomination. Now, it's not only the people who stole from us that are problems, but also the people who came here and were able to work illegally, gather things like commercial driver's licenses illegally. And it's not just California, by the way. It's not just Washington. It's not just, a few other states that have been involved in this, other than, for an example, New York. New York got audited by the DOT. That's the Department of Transportation, for those that don't know. And the DOT found that nearly half of the commercial trucking licenses put out by New York went to illegal drivers. Illegal alien drivers. Folks, they were foreign-born drivers in the U.S. illegally. This is where these things. This is more than half of the Empire State's commercial trucking licenses. See, what New York does, and this is according to Sean Duffy, the DOT secretary, what New York does is if an applicant comes in and they have a work authorization, for 30 days, 60 days, 1 year, whatever, New York automatically issues them an 8-year commercial driver's license, which is contrary to law. He also added that they found that New York many times won't even verify if they have a work authorization, if they have a visa, or if they're in the country legally. They won't even look at it. Yeah, that's nothing short of normal for leftist lunatic-run states. He says, so they're just giving 8-year commercial driver's licenses to people who are coming through their DMV and sending them out on American roadways. And again, they're endangering the lives of American families. So, yeah. Anyway. Keep in mind, of course, there was a 53% failure rate of its roughly 32,000 CDLs that were issued by the New York Department of Motor Vehicles. Yeah. One migrant applicant, according to the Post, back in September, one migrant applicant didn't even have to put a first name down to receive one. We've all seen it. No name given. Yeah. No name given is everywhere. He's got a big family. Let's just put it that way. So the Transportation Secretary is giving Hochul and her officials 30 days to revoke all of the illegal CDLs, pause any new licenses or learner's permits from being issued, and conduct their own comprehensive audit or have their federal funding pulled. The FMCSA administrator, Derek Bars, at the presser said, what we uncovered in New York is not an administrative oversight. It is a systematically, grossly unacceptable deviation from the federal safety regulation that's been on the books for a long period of time. Yep. New York State DMV spokesperson Walter McClure responded in a statement, Secretary Duffy is lying about New York State once again in a desperate attempt to distract from the failing, chaotic administration he represents. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, he actually agrees to this. He's like, here's the truth. Commercial driver's licenses are regulated by the federal government, and New York State DMV has and will continue to comply with federal rules. He goes, every CDL we issue is subject to a verification of the applicant's lawful status. Yeah, okay, but, let's see. Wait just a second here. Do you think this guy has a lawful status? And all, no name given? Yeah, I don't think so. He doesn't have a lawful status. He doesn't even, more than likely doesn't even speak English. Anyway. Yeah, folks, we've got a serious problem here. Serious problem. I mean, this is just, anyway. This is a systemic problem. Well, the Trump administration, according to this article in the Epoch Times, the Trump administration has pulled 9,500 truck drivers off the roads for failing English tests. So one thing you need to understand is that anyone who acquires a commercial driver's license must be able to communicate in English. Meaning that they need to be able to read, they need to be able to understand, they need to be able to speak English. If you hand a commercial truck driver a book known as Dr. Seuss's Cat in the Hat and they can't even read that, yeah, they need to be off the road. So, yeah, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy again said there's more than 9,500 truckers that have been taken out of service for failing the English language proficiency check. So, yeah, he wrote this in a December 10th post on X. We've now knocked 9,500 truck drivers out of service for failing to speak our national language, English. This administration will always put you and your family's safety first. The tally reflects cumulative enforcement actions taken since May when the Department of Transportation reinstated out-of-service penalties for drivers who cannot read or speak English well enough to operate a commercial motor vehicle. So this is a good thing. This is a good thing. And, of course, this crackdown comes after Trump signed an executive order back in March designating English as the official language of the United States. So there you go. This is the way that it's supposed to go. I mean, when you have fatal crashes, by the way, like the one in Florida, and there's been several others that nobody ever really thought about. One even here in my home state of Washington. So, these guys, they need to get taken off the road for sure. So, and the states, of course, are facing pressure and funding loss. They need to ramp up that funding loss thing. They really do. They need to get rid of it, or they need to take out all of that kind of stuff. And these sanctuary states around the country have been issuing illegal aliens commercial driver's licenses. By the way, how are they getting their social security number in order to be able to get the job? It's a darn good question to ask. How are they getting their social security number to get the job? Oh, wait, I thought illegals couldn't get social security numbers. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Anyway. All right, folks, I'm going to take a quick break before I move on to my next subject. I want to talk to you because I love talking to you about this. I love coffee. I have a cup every day. I have a cup every single day. That's right. I have actually 2 cups because I have a 16-ounce mug. I call it a cup, but that's not a cup. A cup is 8 ounces. I drink out of a 16-ounce mug that says, Father like no other, a gift from my wonderful children. And it holds great coffee, because if you still haven't tried 1775 coffee, now is your shot. The 1775 starter kit is available, and there's a small number of units available for it. In each unit, you're getting the bold dark roast that hits hard, the smooth medium roast, and the Vitality mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus with no crash. All of these coffees are single origin, small batch, toxin-free, and mold-free. And you can kind of take your choice out of this and figure out whether or not you want to get the bold dark roast next time, the smooth medium roast next time, do both, or all 3. There you go. You'll also be getting, as a part of this kit, a thing called a gold spoon clip. That's my personal favorite because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. You'll also be receiving a frother that is strong enough to stir up your coffee, as well as your mother-in-law's opinions. Like, that's hard to do. It's not. Anyway, you'll also be receiving a black 1775 tumbler. It's $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for just the low, low price of $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 coffee blow up on Rumble and wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler alert, it is. Go to, here's the numbers, 1775coffee.com. That's 1775coffee.com/studio, STUDIO, and grab your starter kit before they are gone. Go to 1775coffee.com / for those of you that don't know, that's that question mark key on your keyboard, /studio, STUDIO, and grab your starter kit before they are gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does. Go to 1775coffee.com / studio and grab your starter kit today. All right. Well, I'm sure if you saw the news, the U.S. has seized a Venezuelan oil tanker. Now, most people would be like, wait, whoa, what? We've seized a Venezuelan oil tanker? How is that legal? Well, it actually is legal because the United States has sanctions on Venezuelan oil. Now, they seized this oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela on Wednesday. Okay. And Bloomberg, by the way, first reported the tanker seizure. And until Wednesday, the Trump administration's military efforts off the coast of Venezuela have been limited to destroying drug boats and submarines. But Wednesday's actions represent a significant escalation in the White House pressure campaign targeting Venezuela's state-owned oil industry and primary source of funding. Now, most of Venezuela's oil is sold to China. Chinese buyers are typically able to get Venezuelan oil at a discount because of the risk of running afoul of the U.S. sanctions that are currently there. And in fact, U.S.-based Chevron has some oil operations within Venezuela. Chevron has received a waiver from the Treasury Department to work with Venezuela's state-owned oil giant, PDVSA, to develop the country's massive oil reserves. Now, to drill in Venezuela, Chevron gives a portion of its oil back to the government. And since September, the U.S. military has knocked out over 20 boats and submarines in the Caribbean Sea and the Pacific Ocean in strikes targeting drugs and narco-terrorists. Now, these strikes are part of the Trump administration's efforts to curb the flow of illicit drugs into the United States, as well as destroy operations that empower cartels in Central and South America and destabilize the region. Now, here's the thing, is that the drug boat, or it's not the drug boat, sorry, the boat, the tanker, which is named the Skipper, according to 4 people who are familiar with the operation, was originally sanctioned by the U.S. back in 2022. Back in 2022. So under the Biden administration, it was sanctioned. Trump's just keeping it going. Well, there was an ABC News analysis of some satellite imagery and some tracking data that shows that this thing, they're doing some things that are nefarious because the tanker apparently manipulated its transponder. So the digital broadcast signals emitted from the vessel's transponder and tracked by the analytics company called GETTR placed the Skipper near Guyana's offshore between November and December. However, more than a dozen satellite images verified by ABC News confirmed that the Skipper was actually, in fact, operating in waters off the coast of Barcelona, Venezuela, about 550 miles away from where it was supposedly, the transponder was supposedly occurring during the same period. So this is a pattern of deliberate obfuscation, according to Dimitri, and I'm not going to try his last name, who is the senior risk and compliance manager at GETTR, or Kepler, Kpler. He told ABC News the allegedly spoofed signals indicate a broader pattern of sanctions evasion logistics. Now, the satellite imagery captured by 2 providers appears to show the Skipper loading barrels of crude at Venezuela's Jose oil terminal on November 14th, followed by a 3rd sighting there by Planet Labs on November 18th. Imagery, or in an image taken by tankertrackers.com, an organization that monitors global oil shipping, also shows the Skipper at the Jose oil terminal in a similar time period. So this thing is going and like transporting oil when it shouldn't be. And I'm also hearing from, oh, by the way, in a statement from ABC News, I'll get to you in just a second there, 3 Chevy. In a statement to ABC News, Matt Smith, who is an analyst at KPLER, I'm going to say Kipler, but anyway, confirmed in mid-November that the vessel covertly loaded 1.1 million barrels of heavy sour Mare crude without its transponders switched on. Smith noted the skipper had previously engaged in what he said was dark activity, which is a reference to ships operating without their transponder turned on. So, yeah. The site estimates that the skipper carried 1.87 million barrels of oil from Iran to China in February of this year, and another 1.95 million barrels, again from Iran to China, in July of this year. Tanker was spotted off the coast of Madagascar in October before making its way across the Atlantic Ocean. It was spotted again north of Trinidad and approaching Venezuela on October 29th before spending over a month off the coast of Barcelona. According to Marine Traffic, a vessel tracking platform that is owned by Kipler, the skipper's registered owner is Triton Navigation Corporation. Its beneficial owner is listed as Tomaros Global Ventures. Triton Navigation, along with the skipper, then known as Adisa, ADISA, was the subject of U.S. sanctions in 2022 for alleged ties to Hezbollah and Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Quds Force. So who the hell knows? Who owns this thing? Why it's even out there? Why it's doing what it's doing? And realistically, where the hell it is going with all of this oil? And my wonderful whiskey warriors, who are very well informed, the smartest listening audience in all of the internet ethosphere, 3 Chevy points out that the ship itself was uninsured, which is another indication of illicit intent. No kidding. Yeah, what you do when you're trying to do something that is untoward, you hide. You find ways to hide. And you don't bother with insurance because then that proves that the thing existed. Anyway, in response to all of this, also, too, it was not flying a national flag at the time, so seizure was justified. So there you go. Anyway, by the way, the U.S. is beginning, according to the New York Post, here, I'll give it, so you're not always looking at me. The U.S. is preparing to seize more tankers off the coast, off of Venezuela's coast, after the first ship had been taken. The U.S. is preparing to intercept more ships transporting Venezuelan oil following the seizure of the tanker this week as it increases pressure on Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, 6 sources familiar with the matter said on Thursday. The seizure was the first interdiction of an oil cargo tanker from Venezuela, which has been under U.S. sanctions since 2019. The action came as the U.S. escalates a large-scale military buildup in the Southern Caribbean and as U.S. President Donald Trump campaigns for Maduro's ouster. The seizure has put ship owners, operators, and maritime agencies involved in transporting Venezuelan crude oil on alert, with many reconsidering whether to sail from Venezuelan waters in the coming days as planned, according to shipping sources. Further direct interventions by the U.S. are expected in the coming weeks, targeting ships carrying Venezuelan oil that may have also transported oil from other countries that are targeted by U.S. sanctions, such as Iran, according to sources familiar with the matter who declined to be named due to the sensitivity of the issue. Yeah, so anyway, obviously the Venezuelan government said that the U.S. seizure is constituted as theft. So there you go. Anyway, that's quite the story. Quite the story. And the idea, of course, is to put a reduction or halt into Venezuelan oil exports, which is the main generator of revenue for the Venezuelan government, and it would strain the Maduro government's finances. Yeah, put the squeeze on the guy, man. Put the squeeze on him. Which makes sense. So, yeah. Anyway. Let's see what else here. Oh, they're watching, let's see. They're watching other tankers at sea, some vessels in Venezuelan ports, waiting for them to sail into international waters where they can take action there. So, yeah. There's just a lot more opportunity that they are going to do here for this. All right. Let me take a quick drink, get my vocal cords a little lubrication. Anyway, okay. So shifting a little bit, I had mentioned here earlier, I think it was maybe late last week, where the Department of Health and Human Services and the FDA were investigating the deaths of children potentially related to the COVID vaccines. Well, now apparently they've expanded that to where it's now not only children, it's across multiple age groups. So they're actually looking and doing a thorough investigation about these deaths. So the inquiry initially, like I said, centered on possible fatalities among children, but is now expanded after a leaked memo from a senior FDA official claimed the vaccines had also been associated with at least 10 infant deaths, even though that memo didn't reportedly include any evidence to substantiate that allegation. The investigation itself is now broadened to examine reports involving other age groups as well. Now, keep in mind, most of the vaccine side effects are relatively mild and temporary, such as fatigue, fever, arm soreness. However, serious reactions, including myocarditis, pericarditis, and severe allergic responses, have also been observed. So, by the way, in 2025, the FDA required manufacturers of the mRNA vaccines used in the United States to update their product labeling with refined risk estimates for myocarditis and pericarditis. The updated data indicate that these conditions occur in only a small number of vaccinated individuals, with higher rates among adolescent and young adult males. And according to the agency, the safety updates do not alter their overall assessment that the benefits of vaccination outweigh the risks for most people. However, and by the way, before I move on to the next story, at this stage, the FDA has not confirmed any causal connection between COVID-19 vaccines and the deaths under review. Officials say that they will assess all available evidence before drawing conclusions and will release findings when the investigation is complete. It's kind of interesting that the FDA says that, because this next story is quite apropos. Here in the Epoch Times, a Stanford study pinpoints the cause of vaccine-linked myocarditis, as well as a possible fix. So there's some new research that has uncovered the immune reactions behind the rare heart inflammation cases following the COVID-19 mRNA vaccinations. That's kind of interesting. You can't sit here and say, oh, yeah, it doesn't cause it, but yet now there is a link and a possible fix that researchers have found. Yeah. Anyway, myocarditis from COVID-19 vaccines is caused by two separate chemicals acting together, according to a new Stanford study that was published this Wednesday. So Dr. Joseph Wu, the study's lead author and director of the Stanford Cardiovascular Institute, told the Epoch Times, as a cardiologist, we get asked all the time, how exactly does the vaccine cause myocarditis? He says, we thought it was a very important scientific and clinical question to spend resources on and tackle. So apparently when an mRNA vaccine is given, immune cells release a surge of cytokines called CXCL10 and IFN gamma. Both of those happen to damage heart muscles and cause immune cells to enter the injury site. So the study itself was done in human cells and in mice. Previous studies have also shown that these two chemicals to be high in people who have been injured by the mRNA vaccine. So myocarditis from the vaccine is caused through a two-step process, the study authors wrote. When administering the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines to human cells, the first immune cells to encounter the vaccine, called the macrophages, release CXCL10 to recruit more immune cells to the area. Then the second phase, which has more specialized cells come into the area, releasing the IFN gamma in response. And these two chemicals together directly injure heart cells. This damage encourages more inflammatory cells to enter the heart, causing myocarditis. So now they know how myocarditis happens with the COVID-19 vaccine. So, by the way, Wu pointed out that the immune cells are likely releasing these two chemicals because they detect the foreign mRNA from the vaccines. Oh, so our body is responding in a way that injures us because of the fact that we're trying to do something to our body that we're not supposed to be doing. Is that basically it? I think so. So, and of course, he also, he mentions that the two cytokines cause inflammation to the blood vessels. They could cause inflammation to the heart. He also added that these can also cause inflammation in other areas like muscles and joints, which may be why some people experience joint and muscle pains after this thing. Yeah. He said that myocarditis from COVID-19 vaccinations is rare and that the viral infection is of greater concern. I don't see how that could be possible, given that it's been around for a few years now and is obviously dropped off in its what do you call it? Its threat to you. But anyway, so they actually have found that giving the mice a dose of genistein, GENISTEIN, a natural plant compound that comes from soybeans, ahead of vaccinations, actually block the heart damage from happening while still allowing the vaccine to do its job. So the mice that were given this thing continue to release antiviral signals in their body when given the vaccine, which indicates that their immune system recognized the vaccine. Genistein is an anti-inflammatory and acts like estrogen inside the body. Since myocarditis primarily affects young men, Wu said that they thought estrogen, a female hormone, may be protective against myocarditis. And he goes, but we can't be giving estrogen to boys, right? So here we give genistein, which is a weak phytoestrogen, plant-based estrogen, very weak. Dr. Joseph Aron, a professor of the University of Houston's College of Medicine and president of the Independent Medical Alliance, told the Epoch Times that the study allows for a medical option when damage from the vaccine can be prevented, or where damage can be prevented. Now, they're still searching for a root cause. The study only explored one potential case or cause of myocarditis from COVID-19 vaccinations, which is myocarditis caused by an inflammatory response to the vaccine. Other studies have also speculated on other causes of myocarditis from vaccination. One potential reason is autoimmunity, which occurs when the body's immune system mistakenly attacks itself. Because the spike protein produced by the COVID-19 mRNA vaccine has certain features that are the same as those in human proteins. When the immune system attacks these spike proteins, some of the antibodies it produces may also attack the body's own tissues. This can lead to attacks on the heart and result in myocarditis. See, I know I've been reading a lot out of this article, but I want you to understand something. If we had taken the time to understand what the COVID-19 mRNA vaccines were actually going to do, in fact, if we had done longitudinal studies, which used to be required and are required for regular vaccines, where this one in particular was, and again, I fault President Trump for this. Operation Warp Speed was a mistake. It was one that he never should have taken. But he was listening to people who he thought were experts. And so what ended up happening is they cut down the time that it took to bring a vaccine to market. See, if we'd had the opportunity to do these longitudinal studies, meaning studies over the course of time, average time for a vaccine is like 10 years of studies. If we'd had time to do that, we may have found that, hey, prior to getting the COVID-19 mRNA vaccine, maybe you should have an injection of this soybean gene or weak estrogen stuff or whatever. But no, we couldn't. We didn't. And because of that, people are now hurt. But what really sucks about all that is the fact that now they can't hold the vaccine manufacturers accountable because they've been given legal immunity over this. So what do you have? You now have potentially millions of people with all kinds of side effect conditions that are now affecting their lives for the rest of their lives. Some of these millions of people are children, young men, who are now having to deal with this malady, and they can't do anything about it. Basically, folks, COVID-19 mRNA vaccines were an experiment done on the public. And that's the tragedy in and of itself. All right, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and then hit that green follow button to get notified every time that I go live. Also, too, if you haven't done so, please hit those thumbs up, thumbs down, or, of course, for 3 Chevy, thumbs sideways, across all of my platforms, whether it's X, Facebook, YouTube, and, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 1 hour later, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.